Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for taking time to join us today. We are really happy to see so many participants joining us. Before we begin, here are a few pointers to keep in mind. We will be recording this entire event so that it can be shared with you and with others who couldn't attend the event. In case you have any questions for the speakers, feel free to post your questions in the question answer box, as well as if you wish to share any other inputs, comments, suggestions, please use the chat window. If we are not able to address these questions during the webinar, we will get back to you post the event. We are also streaming this webinar live on Facebook. So in case you wish to share this with others who may be interested to join, please feel free to do so. I now hand it over to Lakshmi Pattabhiraman, Executive Director, Collective Impact from the Nudge Foundation, to kick off the proceedings. Over to you, Lakshmi.
Thank you, Bharat. Good afternoon to everyone. We are delighted to welcome you to the launch of this Collective Impact project in Bangalore. This is the first of its kind project in India, which brings together very diverse organizations who will be working in close collaboration with each other towards a common vision, improving the lives of informal waste pickers in the city of Bangalore. They are among the most marginalized groups in the urban environment. Over the course of the webinar, we'll be sharing with you our vision and the various interventions that are a part of this project. We will also hear from some experts on recent developments, particularly in Bangalore, with regard to integration of waste pickers into formal systems. But before we dive into all of that, I would like to invite Maria Gilstead from the H&M Foundation, who are the funders for this project, to share her thoughts on how this project was conceptualized. We also have with us Vignesh Shankar from FSG, who will be sharing some key research findings which helped shape this project. Over to you, Maria and Vignesh.
Thank you, Lakshmi. Welcome everyone today to this official launch of something that is quite unique. Some of you here today know me and the H&M Foundation, but I think a lot of you don't. So I would like to take a few moments to introduce the H&M Foundation and the rationale behind this project. So my name is Maria, and I'm one of the initiators of this Collective Impact collaborative in Bangalore that we're launching today. I've been with the foundation since its inception in 2013 and come from a development background previous to that. But so the H&M Foundation is actually a non-profit global foundation, and we're funded not by the company, but privately by the Stefan Persson family, who are the main owners of the company H&M Group. And the fact that we're privately funded by the family and not the company is important. We share the same name, but we are in fact a separate legal entity with our own board, team, mission, and strategy. And we're not working within the operations of the company. We're not taking the responsibilities that the company has when it comes to social and environmental sustainability. This is something that they do themselves within their own value chain. So everything that we, the foundation, do relates back to the SDGs. And we combine this development work with the entrepreneurial heritage that comes from the Persson family. And I think, well, we can instead do things that the company can't. And it's a way also for the family to bring back value to the community. Our geographical focus is on countries where H&M has production. And by this, we can complement the work that H&M Group does within sustainability and hopefully create synergies that can reinforce positive impact. We're quite a small team, 12 of us, based in Stockholm, Sweden. But we do have a very global focus. And I will talk a little bit on why we're all here today and why we've initiated this program, focusing on waste pickers and the waste management ecosystem in Bangalore. So the H&M Foundation has always had an ambition to take a systems change mindset in how we work. However, we've realized that we as a donor need to use our role better towards catalyzing systems change on a broad scale. Previously, we have worked in quite a traditional way. We've funded bilateral projects with one partner organization focusing on one thematic area with clear, measurable KPIs. That has been a nice and safe way to work, but we realize that that's something that needs to change. That's part of the old. We have evaluated our work and asked ourselves how we can use our strengths and capabilities in the best way going forward. And one of the most important insights this analysis gave us is that we can't continue asking partners for siloed interventions. Social challenges don't exist in silos. They do exist in complex systems. And the solutions need to recognize that and need to be holistic. And systems change also is too complex for any actor to tackle alone. It just requires broad cross-sector collaborations. So if we want to reach the 2030 agenda, we need to stop looking for best practice in silos and instead work in ecosystems to invent next practice together. So we are currently transitioning into a more innovative systems change approach as a donor, where we more actively facilitate cross-sector collaborations towards systems change. And our first initiative in this new strategic direction is, in fact, this project that we're presenting to you today. You will learn more details about the project and the method by our partners during the rest of this session. And so why did you choose that? Why did we choose Bangalore? You may wonder. Well, as I mentioned earlier, our geographical scope is countries where H&M have production. And Bangalore, it's been the center for textile industry for a long time. And through H&M, we therefore could use an already built up network in the area. And Bangalore is a city with a vibrant, innovative ecosystem of great actors already working within the sector with waste pickers and circularity, and that made the choice to pilot in Bangalore an easy one for us. So it is quite a new and unique approach that we're doing here in India now. And together with our partners, we are on a learning journey together. As they say, working with systems change is really like a chessboard. Every move rearranges the playing field, and there are no clear roadmaps for the best way ahead. So we prototype together with our partners. We try, we will fail, we learn and try again until solutions with the power to make a difference can be shared and scaled. We have commissioned an external evaluation by the organization 3IE to measure the impact, but also the actual method to help us learn. And the findings will be shared after the first 3 years of implementation. And the learnings will help us adjust and iterate for another 3 years. So it is a long-term commitment to work in the community, and hopefully we can inspire you and others too as we go along. We are open for others to join us, donors, civil society organizations, and other actors on this quite explorative journey. I hope you will enjoy the next hour and a half and leave with inspiration afterwards. And now I'd like to hand over to Vignesh from FSG to walk us through collective impact as a methodology and share the findings from the ethnographic research that was made together with the waste picker community when we first set out on this endeavor. Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much, Maria. I'm Vignesh and I'm a director at FSG. Very briefly about FSG in case some of you haven't heard. We are a mission-driven global advisory firm focusing entirely on social impact. We work out of the US, Geneva, and Mumbai. And most of the work we do out of Mumbai is seeking market-based solutions. In the interest of time, I'll just stop there. And can I request Bharat to start sharing the presentation? If you can go to the next slide. Yeah, so what I'll do is just talk to you about two things. Firstly, what is collective impact? How is it different from other typical collaborations? Then I'll share a little bit of findings from our research. Firstly, if you think about this as a spectrum, on one end of it, like Maria mentioned, you have lots of individual projects with great but isolated impact that are not set up to coordinate with one another. And then you have what we commonly refer to as collaborations and coalitions, where there is agreement on a certain topic, but there isn't really a deeper level of alignment on what the problem really is, what the data really is, and what the approach really should be. And there's not shared measurement and accountability either. And then you have collective impact, which is a concept that FSG came up with a few years ago, where all relevant actors are working towards the same goal and measuring the same things. Now, collective impact is different from other typical alliances because all actors are working towards a common agenda, using a shared measurement system, having mutually reinforcing activities as opposed to duplicative or even conflicting activities, where there is continuous communication, and all of this supported by a strong backbone organization. So there is more that you can learn about collective impact that you'll find online, but that's broadly the method that we're taking for this project. If you can move to the next slide, please. So now I'll just talk to you very briefly about some of the findings from our research. We had done this research back in April 2019, and this was on street waste pickers, itinerant buyers, and sorters in DWCCs and scrap shops. I'll focus a bit more on street waste collectors because that covers most of the issues that we want to talk about today. So what I'll walk you through is a day in the life of a waste picker called Lakshmi, whom we shadowed for the most part of an entire day. Now, I'll just walk you through how she goes about her entire day and touch upon issues as I do that. So Lakshmi Devi is a 48-year-old street waste picker who is in Ganganagar Halli in northern Bangalore. And she lives alone in a small rented pakka house. Her day starts typically at around 6:30 a.m. where she goes out to collect waste. She just washes her face before she leaves. So she collects waste like plastic PET bottles, milk packets, and cardboard sheets. So she did that for an hour, and then we noticed that she was feeling a little thirsty. Now she doesn't have easy access to water. So she asked, Mr. Manjunath, if you can just put yourself on mute, please. So she doesn't have easy access to water. So she asked the domestic help at a house that she passed by for water, and the domestic help directed her to the tap that she uses to clean clothes and utensils. Now, this is not unique to Lakshmi. Most waste pickers we interviewed did not have easy access to clean, affordable water or even toilets. Now, after that was done, we came close to a certain garbage dump at the corner of the street, and there was a Pura Karmika there who there was a little bit of a heated exchange, and the Pura Karmika asked Lakshmi to leave the area because it's not her area. Lakshmi quietly left. Later on, she told us that she has felt sometimes harassed by people in the formal system and the general population as well. So Lakshmi then continued her waste picking. She did that for a little less than 2 hours at around 8:20, even though her gunny bag was not full. She said she was feeling dizzy because of the heat and that she had some tooth pain. She doesn't really have adequate access to healthcare. So she went to a Gujri shop, a scrap dealer nearby at around 8:30 to sell her waste. That took about 15 minutes. She earned 100 rupees and she started to walk back home, and she had breakfast at a roadside hotel outside. Now note that her income was just 100 rupees. It typically ranges from 70 to 500 rupees for street waste pickers. So that's low and quite unstable. And actually women waste pickers typically earn 50 to 200 rupees lower than male waste pickers. So after breakfast, she got back home at around 10. She cleaned her house with a broom. I'll also point out that she has a pakka house, but most waste pickers we spoke to didn't have a pakka house, so frankly, any semblance of a real house. And after she did the sweeping, she stepped outside to chew some gutka. And at that moment, actually, she seemed quite relaxed. She said that the tobacco helped reduce her dental pain. And a lot of waste pickers told us that they use gutka or alcohol to deal with body pain or just the smell of waste, which can be offensive. And after she did that, she groomed her hair for about 5-10 minutes, and then she lied down to take a nap at around 12. She slept on the floor. She doesn't have a bed. She used her spare clothes, wrapped them up, and used that as a pillow. And she kept the door of her house open. And our guess is that's because that was for ventilation. She doesn't have electricity, no fan or anything like that. So she slept for about an hour, and then she woke up to chat with her neighbors. She spent the next 4 hours chatting with them, actually, smiling and laughing multiple times. And she had some water again after that. And then in the evening, she did another job at a nearby hotel from 7 to 12 for 5 hours, which was cleaning utensils, for which she received 50 rupees and a free dinner. And you can really tell that she needed the extra money and the dinner. So she goes for the second job on days when she's feeling healthy and she needs the money. She went to sleep after that. And she also told us that on days when she made good income, and this was not one such day, she has some alcohol because that helps her sleep better. If you can move to the next slide, Bharat, please. So I've touched upon a host of issues. Just one more thing I want to mention is most waste pickers we spoke to, the ones that had children, they mentioned that they want better things for their children. This is their words. They don't want their children to enter the waste picking profession. They want them to get a good education and get an office job. And they use the term office job kind of loosely. If you can move to the next slide, Bharat. So I just wanted to touch upon this aspect as well, in that there is this is one of the most marginalized communities in the country, and there is further marginalization faced by certain sub-communities like women. When I say women, I'm not referring to just women waste pickers, but women members of waste picker households as well. As you can see from some of the quotes over here on the top left, women, children, sometimes they don't really have access to, they don't have the option of getting a good education because they have to stay back at home to watch the younger siblings while the parents are going out to work. There's some domestic abuse faced by women in their households. Some women household members have some aspirations to further their entrepreneurship dreams, but there's restricted ability for them to do that. There's restricted access to financial services as well. And overall, there's slightly muted social mobility, as you can see from the quote on the bottom right. My main brief was to try and explain to you how it is we designed this initiative. So I'll just wrap this up by summarizing the key issues that we noted from our research. And in a way, the key issues almost directly led to intervention design and onboarding all the great partners that we have in the room today. So the key issues were low income, unstable income, lack of professional pride, workplace hazards, lack of permanent or formal housing, challenges in accessing affordable healthcare, challenges in accessing sanitation and clean drinking water, substance abuse, and challenges in social mobility for children of waste picker households. A few issues faced by further marginalized subgroups, domestic violence and sexual harassment faced by women, and the threat of physical and verbal harassment from the more formal sector and the general population. So I know we don't have time for questions, but that's the sum and substance of the research. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Maria and Vignesh, for sharing your insights into the context, the background, and the purpose of the Collective Impact Initiative for the waste pickers in Bangalore. That was very insightful. For the participants who joined us a little late, if you have any questions, please feel free to post it on the question answer box. And if you have any inputs, comments, suggestions, please use the chat box to post them. In addition to what Lakshmi mentioned earlier, during the course of this webinar, we would like for you to hear directly from the waste pickers about the aspirations, the challenges. Let us start by hearing from Manzoor about the critical role the waste pickers play towards climate action.
ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ, ನನ್ನ ಹೆಸರು ಮನ್ಸೂರ್ ಅಂತ. 116 ಪಟ್ನಾಭಿರಾಮ್ ನಗರ್ ಡ್ರೈವರ್ಸ್ ಕಲೆಕ್ಷನ್ ಸೆಂಟರ್ ನ ಮ್ಯಾನೇಜರ್. ಸೊ ನಾವು ವೇಸ್ಟ್ ಪಿಕ್ಕರ್ ಆಗಿ ಈ ಸೆಗ್ರಿಗೇಷನ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ, ನಮ್ಮ ಒಂದು ಪರಿಸರ ಕ್ಲೈಮೇಟ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆನೆ ನಾವು ಕೆಲಸ ಹೊಂದ್ಕೊಂಡು ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದೀವಿ. ಸೊ ನಾವು ಮಾಡೋದು ಕೆಲಸದಿಂದ ನಮ್ಗೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಒಂದು ವಾತಾವರಣದಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವುದೇ ಹಾನಿಕರ ಆಗದೆ ನಾವು ಸೆಗ್ರಿಗೇಷನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದೀವಿ. ಸೊ ಈ ನಿಟ್ಟಿನಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡಕ್ ಹೋದ್ರೆ 2015 ಕ್ಲೈಮೇಟ್ ಚೇಂಜ್ ಪ್ಯಾರಿಸ್ ಮೀಟಿಂಗ್ ನ ನಾನು ಅಟೆಂಡ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀನಿ. ಏನಕ್ಕೋಸ್ಕರ ಮಾಡಿದೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ, ಯಾವ ರೀತಿನಲ್ಲಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಒಂದು ವಾತಾವರಣನ ನಾವು ಹಾನಿಕರ ಇಲ್ಲದೆ ನೋಡ್ಕೋಬೇಕು, ಸೆಗ್ರಿಗೇಟ್ ಯಾಕೆ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕು. ಇದೇ ಸಮುದ್ರದಲ್ಲಾಗ್ಲಿ ಎಲ್ಲಾ ಕಡೆ ನಾವು ಪ್ಲಾಸ್ಟಿಕ್ ನಾವು ಬಿಸಾಕಿದ್ರೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಒಂದು ಪರಿಸರನ ನಾವು ನಮ್ಮ ಕೈಯಿಂದಾನೇ ನಾವು ಹಾಳು ಮಾಡ್ದಂಗ ಆಗತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಅದರಿಂದ ನಾವೇನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದೀವಿ, ಸೆಗ್ರಿಗೇಟ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಆದಷ್ಟು ನಮ್ಮ ಒಂದು ಪರಿಸರ, ನಮ್ಮ ಕ್ಲೈಮೇಟ್ ನಾವು ಉಳಿಸ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೋಗ್ಬೇಕು ಅನ್ನೋದು ನಿಟ್ಟಿನಲ್ಲೇ ನಾವು ಒಂದು ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದೀವಿ. ಸೊ ಈ ರೀತಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಲೆಕ್ಕ ಮಾಡಕ್ ಹೋದ್ರೆ, ನಾವು 1 ಟನ್ ಪೇಪರ್ ನಾವು ರೀಸೈಕ್ಲಿಂಗ್ ಮಾಡಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಎಷ್ಟೋ ಮರಗಳನ್ನ ನಾವು ಕತ್ತರಿಸ್ಬೇಕಾಗತ್ತೆ. ಎಲ್ಲಾ ಕಸನ ಹಾಕಿ ಒಂದ್ ಜಾಗದಲ್ಲಿ ಸುಟ್ಬಿಟ್ರೆ ಆ ಭೂಮಿಗೂ ಪೊಲ್ಯೂಷನ್ ಕ್ರಿಯೇಟ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ನಮ್ಮ ಒಂದು ವಾತಾವರಣದಲ್ಲಿ ಮಳೆ ಬಂದಾಗ ಆ ನೀರು ತಿರ್ಗಾ ಗ್ರೌಂಡ್ ವಾಟರ್ ಹೋಗಿ ಮತ್ತೆ ನಾವು ಬೋರ್ ಹಾಕಿ ತೆಗ್ದಾಗ ಈ ತರ ಎಲ್ಲ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಎಷ್ಟೋ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆನ ನಾವು ಕಡಿಮೆ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋಬಹುದು. ಆದಷ್ಟು ನಾವು ಸೆಗ್ರಿಗೇಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕು. ಸೊ ಕಸ ನೀವು ಸೆಗ್ರಿಗೇಟ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಮನೆಯಿಂದ ಕೊಟ್ರೆ ನಾವು ಮತ್ತೆ ಅದನ್ನ ರೀಸೈಕ್ಲಿಂಗ್ ಕಳಿಸ್ತೀವಿ, ಪರಿಸರನ ಉಳಿಸ್ತೀವಿ. ಆದಷ್ಟು ರೀಸೈಕ್ಲಿಂಗ್ ಮಾಡೋ ಒಂದು ವಸ್ತನ್ನು ಎಲ್ಲೂ ಸುಡಕ್ ಹೋಗ್ಬೇಡಿ, ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ಸರ್ ಕಾಯಿಲೆಗಳು ಇದಕ್ಕೆಲ್ಲ ಗುರು ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಸೊ ಆದಷ್ಟು ನಾವು ಸೆಗ್ರಿಗೇಷನ್ ಮಾಡೋಣ, ರೀಸೈಕ್ಲಿಂಗ್ ಮಾಡೋಣ. ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು.
That was very powerful from Manzoor. I request Sudha Srinivasan, the CEO of Center of Social Innovation for the Nach Foundation, Bangalore, to introduce Mr. Manjunath Prasad, the BBMP Commissioner.
Thanks, Bharat, and a very inspirational video indeed. The sense of purpose and ownership was really amazing. To the audience today that comprises of all corporates committed to the circular economy ideal, civil society organizations and Bangalore's waste workers who are working together to give us a much better tomorrow. The press and media, as well as everyone from civil society that has engaged with this problem. It's my pleasure to welcome you to this audience, sir, Shri Manjunath Prasad, Commissioner of the Brihad Bengaluru Mahanagarpalika. Namaskara, sir. BBMP's own track record in terms of leading the path in solid waste management is known to this audience, be it the leadership in enforcing waste segregation at source, or the way in which you engage the community to achieve the milestones we have along the way for a city that grew much faster than anyone expected and kind of kept up with the needs on the ground despite infrastructural bottlenecks has been amazing. You personally came in the middle of COVID, right into the peak of the needs on the ground and kind of very quickly took control. It means a lot to us, sir, that on a busy day like today, when you probably just stepped out of the Korean delegation, come and spend some time with us and share your thoughts. Thank you very much for doing that, and over to you without much ado.
Thank you, Sudha. Thank you, all my friends who have joined for this seminar. I mean, this is my third stint in the municipal corporation. In fact, earlier also I had 2 stints, and 4 months back again, for some reasons I was brought in. I was working as a Principal Secretary of Revenue Department. Now, one issue that is very close to my heart is this waste pickers issue and the collection of dry waste, this one, collection. So for the benefit of all the members, just at the cost of repetition, we all know that Bangalore is a city with 13 million population, and we almost generate about 6,000 tons of waste every day. And there are so many issues when you're working with an elected body. I mean, there are so many issues. You have to take all those elected councillors along with you, along with this. Not only 198 corporators, we have 28 legislatures in Bangalore city. In addition to this, there'll be a number of ministers and ultimately the chief minister. So one issue which I have been fighting in the municipal council and trying to make them understand, regarding the issue of the waste pickers. Now, I have been born and brought up in Bangalore. I have seen during the childhood days, I used to see that rag pickers, they used to carry one gunny bag, go around the house to, not in front of the house, basically the backyard, where you throw all your plastics and all this dry waste, which we don't use. In Bangalore, there was no such organized system of collection. I've seen that, decades back, all this used to be thrown on either on the streets or on your backyard. And you see a waste picker with a big gunny bag, as big as his size, with on the shoulder, carrying on, picking up waste, this dry waste, and putting it inside the gunny bag, and used to ultimately go on to sell this waste. Now, thanks to the initiative of Nalini Shekhar and other organizations, other initiatives by Asirudala and other organizations, they have all, organized them, they have mobilized them. For the first time, an identity has been given to all those waste pickers. Otherwise, they were faceless, nameless. And more than anything else, because of this identity that has been given, today they have a specific place in the society. Otherwise, they were harassed by everybody, not only the police, by BBMP staff, everybody. The way you look at it, some look with them with passion, compassion. Some will look that as though they have come near your house to steal something. So this was common. This was the time when all those waste pickers were organized, given an identity card of the municipal corporation. When once you give an identity card, you get an identity that you are working for a particular organization, so you will get respect. So that respect, today we have more than 7 to 8,000 rack pickers have been organized. They have been given identity card. They will all know. Everybody recognize them, and such harassment which used to happen, it's no longer such there. Now, having done that, the next most important thing is their livelihood. Now, we have been fighting with the council to tell them, look, as far as the dry waste collection, then the dry waste processing is concerned, it is the informal workers like the waste pickers, the NGOs, the self-help groups, it is their responsibility. But somehow the municipal corporation, they always want this to be given to the other contractors, the contractors who carry this wet waste and other waste. But finally, this we got a proposal sent to the government. We got it approved by the government that this dry waste is exclusively, it is being taken care of by this drag pickers, and to encourage them. It is just not only you give that mandate, it's very important that not only giving the mandate, you have to facilitate so that they can do their work properly. So for that reason, what we thought is that for each ward, so we have constructed around 168 dry waste collection centers. Still some wards are, yet to be constructed out of 198. Not only constructing the dry waste collection centers, the second thing is what we did is to ensure that each ward is given exclusive 3 vehicles for transportation of its dry waste. Wherever possible, we are trying to give our own vehicles. Wherever there are no vehicles, we are trying to give them, per vehicle, we are paying them 56,000 rupees as rent, so that, they should not be burdened. So now, having said that, now we have tendered for 500 and some 600 vehicles. We have tendered so that we will procure this 600 wheelers or 4-wheelers run on CNG fuel or electric fuel, so that it will be easier for them to collect this waste from the houses. Now, this is one issue, the livelihood. That to great extent we have integrated into the system, we have formalized. Now, what is more important and what is being discussed today is, it is just livelihood will not suffice. What about their health? What about their education? What about the education of their children? And what about their improving the quality of life in terms of having a good house, good drinking water facilities, then time for leisure, and all this are very, very important, this one. But one thing I can tell you that the government has a number of programs. For such population, to ensuring that they get a proper house, ensuring that all their children get free of cost education in good schools, ensuring that each one of them get good medical facility, treatment in the best hospitals. This is there. What is lacking is an integration of all those schemes, beginning awareness among them that look, you'll get all these facilities. This is how to avail these facilities. So that awareness creation was one thing, and second thing, to integrating all the efforts of the various departments so that each department know, look, this is the targeted population, and this is what the facilities are available in our department. So if these things, if all the stakeholders, all the other line departments can work together, I am sure that not only the livelihood issue, the quality of life of our informal workers who are involved in the dry waste collection can be made better, and it is possible. And especially with the type of study which you intend to do, I am sure that it will go a long way in enhancing the quality of life. And we at the solid waste management team of the municipal corporation, we are totally committed to this. We have an excellent team led by our special commissioner Randeep, Sarfraz Khan, Hemlata, and Kabade, Lokesh. They're all very nice officers who work out of passion and commitment. Otherwise, they would have gone to any other department. With all this vested interest working against us. They are like a strong rock, working for the welfare of these people. I am sure that with your inputs and with your guidance, with your suggestions, we will make the lives of these people much better than what it is today. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing so much context on how the role and the position of informal waste pickers has evolved in Bangalore. We're really inspired by what you said towards the end when you spoke about the team that is working with both on solid waste management and with the waste pickers. Given the focus of our project on systemic change, we're really looking forward to work with both BBMP or other authorities over the course of the project on how we can combine the vision of our project with the priorities of your administration. So all of us, all the partners are very much looking forward to working with you closely in the future. Thank you so much, sir, for your time and sharing your insights. I would now like to invite Maria to share with all of you the formal identity for this collective impact project and say a few more words. Over to you, Maria.
Thank you, Lakshmi. As you have heard by now, this project brings together multiple actors working within their respective fields to address the multiple problems facing the waste picking community and the systems within which they act. And to represent the work done on ground by this collective and to give name and voice to our collective action, it gives me great pleasure to reveal the formal name of the initiative, Samuhika Shakti, with the tagline, "In solidarity with waste pickers." And here is the logo I think you should be able to see. And we really want to thank our partner Kaboom, who helped us develop the name and design this for us. I'm also very happy to have the Nudge Foundation manage this program on the ground and all our fantastic partners, BBC Media Action, CARE, LabourNet, Hasiru Dala, Save the Children, Social Alpha, and WaterAid, who have come together to work in support and benefit of the waste picker community. And so without further ado, I'd like to pass the baton back to Lakshmi, who is the Executive Director for the project. I welcome her to share more background about Samuhika Shakti with everyone.
Thank you, Maria. So in consultation with the partners and different stakeholders, we finalized the common agenda, or in other words, the vision for Samuhika Shakti, to enable the informal waste pickers in Bangalore to lead more secure and dignified lives. But what does that really mean? Our vision breaks down into 6 distinct outcomes. With regard to income and livelihood, which is one of the aspects Mr. Manjunath Prasad also touched upon, the project will focus on enabling waste pickers to have higher and more stable income from the profession of waste picking. But at the same time, it will also provide opportunities for waste pickers or their family members to pursue alternate profession if they choose to do so. We will focus on enabling access to affordable quality services, be it in the public domain or in the private sector, in areas such as education, health, water, sanitation, housing, or even financial systems. Another key outcome, particularly in light of the COVID pandemic, is that the waste pickers should be able to carry out their work in safe, improved working conditions. And addressing one of the key concerns and challenges that the community faces, which Vignesh touched upon, we'll also be focusing on creating and enabling access to support systems which will address domestic violence and substance abuse in the waste picker communities. And finally, and importantly, we will focus on ensuring that the people of Bangalore recognize and respect the value of the work that waste pickers do. We at the Nudge are very excited to serve as the backbone organization for this Samuhika Shakti project. Our role here is to guide the overall vision and strategy for the project to ensure that the work that we all do is responsive to the emerging needs of the community. We will be facilitating dialogue and collaboration among all our partners. We will also engage in active conversations with different stakeholders, be it industry actors, local authorities, other funders, or civil society organizations, to further build on this shared vision. I want to briefly touch upon a critical aspect of the entire project, which is equity. All the partners will be working with a clear focus on ensuring that women and girls and other vulnerable subgroups within the waste picker community have equal access to all of the outcomes that we're working on. and all of their interventions and projects are designed accordingly. You will be hearing from all of the other partners in a little bit about their work. They'll be sharing a few more details on the work that they will be doing. But before we move to that, we thought it would be appropriate to hear directly from the people we serve on their aspirations and dreams. I was personally very moved by Bhavani's story, a very inspiring story, and I would like to share it with you now. Bharat?
ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. ನನ್ನ ಹೆಸರು ಭವಾನಿ, ನನ್ನ ತಾಯಿ ಹೆಸರು ಲಕ್ಷ್ಮಿ. ಅವ್ರು ವೇಸ್ಟ್ ಸ್ಪೀಕರ್ ಆಗಿ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ನಮ್ಮನೇಲಿ ನಾವು 5 ಜನ ಹೆಣ್ಮಕ್ಳು, 4 ಜನನೂ ಓದ್ತಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ನಾನು BCA ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ ಇಯರ್ ಓದ್ತಿದ್ದೀನಿ. ನನ್ನ ಗುರಿ ಬಂದ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು IAS ಆಗ್ಬೇಕಂತ. ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ನನ್ನ ತಂದೆ ಬಂದ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಕುಡಿತಾನೆ ಇರ್ತಾರೆ. ತಂದೆಗಿರೋ ರೆಸ್ಪಾನ್ಸಿಬಿಲಿಟಿ ಏನೂ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಆದ್ರಿಂದ ನನಗೆ ಚೈಲ್ಡ್ ಮ್ಯಾರೇಜ್ ಫಿಕ್ಸ್ ಆಗಿತ್ತು. ನಾನು ಹಸಿರುದಲೆ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆಯ ಸಹಾಯ ತಗೊಂಡು ನನ್ನ ಮ್ಯಾರೇಜ್ ಅನ್ನು ಸ್ಟಾಪ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಇವಾಗ ಓದ್ತಿದ್ದೀನಿ. ಅವಾಗ ಥಿಂಕ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದು ಏನು ಅಂದ್ರೆ, ನನ್ಗೆ ಸಹಾಯ ಮಾಡಕ್ಕೆ ಹಸಿರುದಲ ಇದ್ರು. ಇನ್ನೊಂದ್ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಜನ ಲೈಫ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾರು ಇರೋದಿಲ್ಲ, ಅಂತವ್ರಿಗೆ ಹೆಲ್ಪ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಡಿಸೈಡ್ ಮಾಡಿದೆ. ಆ ತರ ಹೆಲ್ಪ್ ಹೆಂಗ್ ಮಾಡೋದು, ಯಾವ ಫೀಲ್ಡ್ಗೆ ಹೋಗೋದು ಅಂತ ಥಿಂಕ್ ಮಾಡಿದವಾಗ IAS ಚೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಿದೆ. ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ IAS ಬಂದ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಫುಲ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಫುಲ್ ಜನರಿಗಾಗಿ ಸರ್ವಿಸ್ ಮಾಡೋದು. ಅದಕ್ಕೋಸ್ಕರ ಆ ಫೀಲ್ಡ್ ನ ಚೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಿದೆ. ಇನ್ನೊಂದ್ ಬಂದ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು, ಇವಾಗ ಬಡವರು ತುಂಬಾ ಕಷ್ಟಪಟ್ಟು ಸಾಲ ತಗೊಂಡು ಪ್ರೈವೇಟ್ ಸ್ಕೂಲ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಮಕ್ಕಳನ್ನ ಸೇರಿಸ್ತಾರೆ. ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ಗವರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಸ್ಕೂಲ್ ಸೇರ್ಸಿದ್ರೆ ಮಕ್ಳು ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಸ್ಕೂಲ್ಗೆ ಹೋಗಲ್ಲ, ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಹೇಳ್ಕೊಡ್ತಿಲ್ಲ, ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಓದ್ತಿಲ್ಲ, ಒಳ್ಳೆ ಜಾಬ್ ಸಿಗಲ್ಲ, ಹಂಗೆ ಥಿಂಕ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡ್ಬಿಟ್ಟಿರ್ತಾರೆ. ಅದನ್ನ ಚೇಂಜ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕು. ಗವರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಸ್ಕೂಲ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಒಳ್ಳೆ ಎಜುಕೇಶನ್ ಕೊಡ್ತಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಅಂತ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ನಂಬಿಕೆ ಕೊಡ್ಬೇಕು. ಆ ತರ ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಒಳ್ಳೆ ಎಜುಕೇಶನ್ ಕೊಡ್ಬೇಕು, ಫ್ರೀ ಆಗಿ ಗುಡ್ ಎಜುಕೇಶನ್ ಕೊಡ್ಬೇಕು, ಅದು ಆಸೆ. ಅದಕ್ಕೋಸ್ಕರ IAS ಆಫೀಸರ್ ಆಗ್ಬೇಕು. ನಾನು IAS ಆಗ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ನಾನು ಬಡವರಿಗೆ ತುಂಬಾ ಹೆಲ್ಪ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕು. ಆ ತರ ನಾನು ಹೆಲ್ಪ್ ಮಾಡಿದವಾಗ ನನ್ನ ನೋಡ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಇನ್ನ 4 ಜನ ಹೆಲ್ಪ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಆ ಫೀಲ್ಡ್ ಚೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದು, IAS ಆಗ್ಬೇಕು ಅಂತ. ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ಒಂದು IAS ಈ ತರ ಹೆಲ್ಪ್ ಮಾಡಿದವಾಗ ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಥಿಂಕಿಂಗ್ ಬರುತ್ತೆ, ನಾವು ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು ಹೆಲ್ಪ್ ಅಂತ. ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಹೆಲ್ಪ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಆ ತರ ಹೆಲ್ಪ್ ಮಾಡಿದವಾಗ ನಮ್ ದೇಶದಲ್ಲಿ ಬಡವರು ಅಂತಾನೆ ಯಾರು ಇರೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಅದಕ್ಕೋಸ್ಕರ ನಾನು IAS ಫೀಲ್ಡ್ ಚೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಿದೆ. ನನ್ನ ಲೈಫ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ವಿದ್ಯೆ ಅನ್ನೋ ದೀಪ ಹಚ್ಚಿ ನನ್ನ ಜೀವನಕ್ಕೆ ಬೆಳಕು ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದು ಹಸಿರುದಲ. ಅವ್ರ ತರ ನಾನು ನನ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಆದಷ್ಟು ಜನರಿಗೆ, ಮಕ್ಕಳಿಗೆ ವಿದ್ಯೆ ಕೊಟ್ಟು ಅವ್ರ ಜೀವನದಲ್ಲಿ ಬೆಳಕು ಕೊಡ್ಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಆಸೆ ಪಡ್ತಿದ್ದೀನಿ. ಅದಕ್ಕೋಸ್ಕರ ನಾನು IAS ಚೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಿದೆ. ಹೆಲ್ಪ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕು, ತುಂಬಾ ಜನ ಹೆಲ್ಪ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕು. ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಬಂದ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು, ನನ್ನ ವಂಶದಲ್ಲಿ ನಾನೇ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಡಿಗ್ರಿ ಓದ್ತಿರೋದು. ನನ್ ಹಿಂದೆ ಬರೋ ಜನರೇಷನ್ಗೆ ನಾನ್ ಬಂದು ಒಂದು ರೋಲ್ ಮಾಡಲ್ ತರ ಇರ್ಬೇಕಂತ ಆಸೆ ಪಡ್ತಿದ್ದೀನಿ. ಅದಕ್ಕೋಸ್ಕರ IAS ಚೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಮಕ್ಳಿಗೆ, ಜನರಿಗೆ ಸಹಾಯ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕು, ಅವ್ರಿಗೆಲ್ಲಾ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆನೂ ಕೊಡಿಸ್ಬೇಕು. ಅದಕ್ಕೋಸ್ಕರ IAS ಫೀಲ್ಡ್ ಚೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದು. ಮಾತಾಡಕ್ಕೆ ಅವಕಾಶ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಕ್ಕೆ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು.
These stories keep us motivated and show how one little spark can have a ripple effect in the society in the long term. Moving ahead, we heard that Samohika Shakti is about various partners coming together to impact the lives of the waste pickers and their families holistically. Towards this, multiple partners have come together to work towards various outcomes to achieve a collective vision. I now invite the partner organizations who are part of Samohika Shakti to share a little bit about their interventions and their role in achieving the collective vision. To begin with, I call upon Vikas Gora, Deputy Director, South India, Save the Children India, to speak about their role in Samohika Shakti. Over to you, Vikas.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's with distinct pleasure to be here on this panel, along with our other partners who are working collectively to make a difference in the lives of scores of waste-picking children. I thank H&M for realizing the need to work with these children, which is definitely the need of the hour and hope for the future. And the stories which we heard so far are the stories of change, stories of aspirations. And that's where Save the Children also was built. In 1919, Eglantine Jebb founded Save the Children, And in the last 100 years, we have been working on various issues that impact children, right from education, health, nutrition, child protection. And one such key issue which we are keenly working is on child labor and children in street situations. So one of our aspects in our work is to help them transform their lives, realize their dreams, and ensure that their rights are realized. First thing first, in this project in H&M, we have been primarily looking at working as a collective action, because the issues, the plethora of issues that impact these children, both be it from the angle of child labor, exploitation, and the study which was the results of the study which was shared earlier, all these require a multi-agency or a multi-sectoral kind of an intervention. That's where we as a collective have come together to address various thematic issues that impact children. Save the Children has taken up education as its core entry point, and that is the backbone of our project. The approach is to ensure creating conducive learning environment for 9,300 plus most marginalized children between the age of 3 to 18 years from this West-speaking community and the neighboring families within the geographical area in Bangalore. So what we are looking at is the activities related to education, bringing in innovation through campaigning, creating more awareness on the need for education as a right of the children, that kind of an awareness to bring in among the community as well as among parents. And also equipping teachers, Anganwadi workers with joyful learning and newer approaches so that they can create an environment which is conducive for the children to ensure learning. So providing them with the relevant ELM to emergent learning tools, as well as the TLM teaching learning materials that can bring in certain discovery mode of learning among these children. We very well know that every child is unique, and we also are mindful that if provided an opportunity, they can make that difference. So our investment is also in life skills, especially between the 14 to 18 years old youth, so that they start understanding the world from their own lens, and also giving them the options in realizing their dreams. So we have, through this project, we have been looking at investing in children's clubs, ensuring mothers' nutrition groups are formed, so that nutrition becomes a core intervention here, because we do know that especially children in street situations do get exposed to various exploitation, including substance abuse, and these all have a direct bearing on the health and well-being of children. We also look at imbibing positive parenting and creating a friendly environment at the family level, so that this kind of campaigning model of working is integral part of our intervention. We also, as Save the Children, are keen on ensuring and investing on vocational training, creating alternative livelihood options, or bringing dignity in their way of working. So that's the way we can help in overall health and well-being of the West-speaking community. I appreciate once again the entire collective members, especially coming together for a common cause. At the same time, H&M investing in making this effort possible. Our work as Save the Children has always been with in close collaboration with government. We have right from setting up SOPs, standard operating procedures, in working in children's street situations, to working at the front end directly with the community. The experience of the last 100 years has helped in realizing various initiatives, and one such initiative is this project. I thank once again for the opportunity, and appreciate the municipal administration of Bangalore for doing their incredible work on ground and being that extra hand for making this project possible for us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vikas. I now call upon Nabesh Bohida, Regional Program Manager, South Hub Care India, to speak about their role in the project.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks to everyone connected with the project, especially to H&M for giving us the opportunity, and to all the partners as we move along hand in hand. I will just briefly talk about Care India. and then talk about what is it that we are focusing on in the Samohika Shakti initiative. Care India has been working in India for over 70 years, focusing on alleviating poverty and social exclusion. And we do this through well-planned and comprehensive programs in health, education, livelihoods, and disaster preparedness and response. We currently work in 19 states of India, and we are also an independent member of the CARE International Confederation, working in over 100 countries for a world where all people live with dignity and security. CARE India is extremely proud to join hands with the Samohika Shakti project by the H&M Foundation to bring about improvements in the quality of life of waste pickers in Bangalore city. Samohika Shakti has identified 8 key intervention areas which addresses issues prioritized by the waste pickers themselves. Out of those 8 priority areas, CARE India focuses on developing and devising sustainable alternate livelihoods by strengthening life skills, financial, digital literacy, and entrepreneurship development. CARE India over a 3-year period will be working with over 4,000 waste pickers and family members, from informal street waste collectors, itinerant buyers, and sorters in scrap shops. We'll be carrying out these activities through special strategies such as seed centers as well as community mobilization. The strategy would be to enhance the lives, employability, and entrepreneurial skills and provide sustainable livelihood opportunities. Broadly, we will be working on 4 key strategies. Number 1, enhancing the life, employability, and entrepreneurship skills of the waste pickers through various trainings and practices. Second is to promote and strengthen effective and efficient collectives of waste pickers, especially women, for easy livelihood options. Third is to facilitate waste pickers access to relevant resources, schemes, and services, either from the state government or the central government schemes. And finally, to engage and enable, create an enabling environment for livelihood options of the waste pickers. Finally, CARE India will be working closely with all the other Samohika Shakti partners to multiply impact in the project. Thank you.
Thank you, Navish. I now invite Dr. Gayatri Vasudevan, co-founder and chairperson, LibreNet Services India, to speak about their role in Samohika Shakti. Over to you, Gayatri. Thank you,
Bharat, and thank you for involving us right from the beginning to in the whole initiative. LibreNet is an organization which works on enabling livelihood. And in this particular collective, our role is to look at the exit opportunities, particularly those who are looking for alternatives, look at short-term training, workshops, as well as entrepreneurship opportunities. So we hope to be very closely linked with their aspirations. That's really the goal, is to see that whatever their aspirations are, how do we really, how can you stoke that? How can you ensure that they are met? And especially, I think this is very critical given, you know, what was shown as videos. It becomes even more important for us to contextualize the place where they're coming from. And there's a lot of confidence and social building, social status building, I think, will be the most important element that we hope to work with and learn with every partner in the collective. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you, Dr. Gayatri. Now we have Madhushree, Program Director, Social Alpha, who will speak about Social Alpha's role in this initiative. Over to you, Madhushree.
Thank you, Bharat. Good afternoon, everyone. Very happy to be here today. I'll give a quick introduction to Social Alpha and then very briefly speak about what we're doing as a part of the Samohika Shakti. So we at Social Alpha believe in the potential of technology and innovations to create deep and irreversible impact. So we work with and look for innovators who are willing to take on that early entrepreneurial risk, and we support them while they develop these compelling solutions and sustainable business models to address social, economic, and environmental challenges. So our support to these innovators really consists of, but is not restricted to, pilots at sandboxes for pilots, business incubation, technology incubation, seed capital funding, entrepreneurial mentorship, and product prototyping. So what we really are is an initiative to strengthen the science and technology ecosystem in India. We're very pleased to be a part of the Samohika Shakti. We've been working in the waste management sector since our inception. Circular economy, climate action, and livelihood enhancement are a vital part of Social Alpha's charter. And over the course of the last 4 years, we've built a very strong portfolio of waste management companies. We believe that science and technology innovations have the potential to address the numerous challenges across the waste management spectrum and also improve the overall livelihoods of the different people engaged in the sector. So as a part of Samohika Shakti, what we're doing over the next 3 years is to look for innovations which accelerate waste management, but also increase the income of the informal sector and build the income stability. I will refrain from sharing more about the program because we're officially launching it next month, but you'll be hearing more details about the entire program on the entrepreneurship model in December. Thank you.
Thank you, Madhushree. To share about WaterAid India's role in Samohika Shakti, I now call upon VK Madhavan, CEO of WaterAid. Over to you, Madhavan.
Thanks, Bharat. So WaterAid seeks to provide rural and urban communities with access to safe, assured piped water, safely managed sanitation services, and access to good hygiene. In the work that we do, we try and ensure that there's a special emphasis on the specific needs of women, to try and ensure that the leadership of women finds reflection in the work that we do, and to focus on the most vulnerable and marginalized. Now, there were two reasons why we are delighted to be a part of Samohika Shakti. The first is that some of our earlier work and existing work on sanitation is with regard to sanitation workers. And while we'd worked with sanitation workers, we'd never worked with waste pickers before. And so in some sense, there was an opportunity for us not just to work on liquid waste management, but also solid waste management with a special emphasis on waste pickers. The second was that historically, organizations like us have always emphasized the importance of collective action for communities. And here was an opportunity for organizations to collaborate for collective action. So in some sense, an opportunity for us to demonstrate that our aspirations of communities could be something that we could also demonstrate through our actions of working together with other like-minded organizations. We will be working in 15 slums in settlements in Bangalore with around 5,000 waste pickers and their families to try and ensure that they have access to safe drinking water. The process that we'll adopt would be to first try and assess the actual requirements in each of these settlements, to design what would be the provision of safe drinking water in consultation with these communities, to help generate demand and leverage existing schemes that the BBMP or other state government might have, and then to look at the role that communities could play in both the monitoring as well as management of provision of safe water. And finally, if there are gaps, to look at unleashing entrepreneurial solutions for the provision of safe drinking water. Thank you.
Thank you, Madhavan. Inda Madhur, Senior Program Manager, Hasrudala, will now speak about Hasrudala's role in Samohika Shakti. Over to you, Inda. Inda, sorry, we can't hear you. You're on mute.
Hasirudala is a social impact organization that focuses on securing social justice for waste pickers through interventions co-created with waste pickers in the areas of identity rights, access to family education, healthcare, housing and pension, skill development, market and employment access, and multi-tier policy and advocacy. Hasirudala has worked with waste pickers in Bangalore since 2011 and was incorporated as a charitable trust in 2013. Hasirudala's aims to bring recognition to contribution made by waste pickers and informal waste collectors in the city. Create space formally in local urban waste management to facilitate predictable income where possible. Broadly, our vision for the future involves inclusive society for waste pickers and other informal workers, free of discrimination based on their caste, class, religion, gender, and their occupation. Organization's strongest foothold has been in Bangalore, Mysuru, and Tumkur, and we are gaining traction in other cities across Karnataka, such as Hubli, Dharwad, Davangere, and Mangalore. We've also made connections and begun engagements in Tamil Nadu and Andhra Pradesh. Hasirudala's we see waste pickers as skilled worker and also at their predictable income and ensuring they have access to Samohika Shakti, social security, and vocational options for children. So we believe that waste pickers are resilient and encourage them to have sustainable options in the longer run. We hope Samohika Shakti program will help us to leverage our long-term goal. As part of the Samohika Shakti collective, Hasirudala is working towards 3 objectives: social security, family and community violence, and substance abuse. In Bengaluru, Hasirudala will work to extend social security coverage to waste pickers over the next 3 years and advocate with local and state national governments to extend protections for waste pickers and other informal workers in the waste sector. Among the family and community violence, there are no accurate reports that tracks the incidences of domestic violence amongst waste pickers in Bengaluru. Though an attempt was made through Hasirudala health camps in beginning stages of that initiative, violence in communities is committed on gender, religious, and caste lines, and a sustained term of intervention will be needed to mitigate these circumstances. Sustained engagement with waste pickers will help us to bring out cases of violence and intervention and will be made to support the survivor of violence through counseling and community intervention, training, and building leadership with community to address violence and support survivors for sustainability of this intervention. Substance abuse, many forms of substance abuse have been seen in the waste picker community. Like other issues, substance abuse often starts at very early age and continues because of access and acceptability. In waste picker communities, substance abuse is seen mostly by adult men and some women and teenagers. Hasirudala has always partnered with professional service organizations like Demhans and trained therapists for individuals who sought rehabilitation and support. But for next 3 years, organization will run a sustained program to set up rehabilitation strategies and support systems for the people who need it. Through the Samohika Shakti program, we look at leveraging all of these things together with the project altogether. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Inda. I now call upon Priyanka Dutt, Country Director, BBC Media Action, to speak about the role of BBC Media Action in Samohika Shakti and share the findings from their formative research. Over to you, Priyanka.
Thank you very much, Bharat. BBC Media Action is the international NGO arm of the BBC, and we believe in the power of media and communication for good. We reach more than 100 million people each year in some of the world's poorest and most fragile countries, saving lives, protecting livelihoods, countering misinformation, challenging prejudice, and building democracy. In India, over the last 2 decades, we have used a human-centered design approach, rooted in evidence, powered by insights, and leveraging impact-tested, scalable, big ideas to create social and behavior change in health, gender equity, climate change, sanitation, and the prevention of bonded labor. When Samohika Shakti was being developed, about this time last year, we saw an opportunity to bring our experience and expertise to support efforts to change perceptions of informal waste pickers in Bengaluru. Our project, titled A Pathway to Respect, Identity, Dignity and Empowerment, or PRIDE, will reach and engage the people of Bangalore through a multi-phased social media campaign, as well as connecting with waste picker communities through outreach activities through other Samuhika Shakti partners. We're very excited to be an integral part of Samuhika Shakti and to bring our social and behavior change communication expertise to help create greater social acceptance of informal waste pickers in the city. We believe that there's a need to change the way the people of Bengaluru think and feel about informal waste pickers. And our hope is that our work will help people travel a journey from informal waste pickers being invisible to being recognized as doing important, skilled work that contributes to both society and the environment. As always, our work will be evidence-based, building on findings from our formative research that my colleague Varinder Gambhir, who's our Director of Research, will now present. Varinder, over to you.
Thanks, Priyanka. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks, Bharat, for putting up the PPT. My name is Varinder, and I will be taking you all through some of the key insights from our formative research. All the work that we do at BBC Media Action is evidence-led, and this research will form the bedrock of everything we do as we start the process of developing communications. In keeping with the core values of BBC Media Action, the communities that we serve are at the heart of everything we do. It was important for us to first understand what the current perceptions with respect to the waste pickers are, and to explore what the informal waste pickers think about their work and the challenges that they face. Next slide, please. Thank you. So let me begin by first quickly taking you all through our research approach. To get a complete understanding of the issues related to acceptance of waste pickers by public, we decided to meet not just the waste pickers themselves and the public at large, but also some of the key opinion leaders of the sector in Bengaluru. Overall, with the help of our partner agency Kadri Insights, as well as Hasrudala and the Nudge Foundation, who helped us reach out to these informal waste pickers, we did 56 qualitative activities, which included focus group discussions with social media users, 32 in-depth interviews with waste pickers, and interviews with the key informants from the sector, which included BBMP officials, RWA's Resident Welfare Association members, as well as NGOs working in the sector. Finally, we followed up all our qualitative work with about 406 online surveys with social media users. Next slide, please. We found that for most people in Bengaluru, waste management means segregation of waste into dry and wet bins, and to some extent, not littering. There is negligible understanding of the more invisible parts of the process. Very few know and mention recycling, sorting at dumping yards, or how plastics and other non-biodegradable waste items are disposed of. Most importantly, there is negligible understanding of the people involved in the entire process. Even though waste on the streets is visible and of concern, informal waste pickers are virtually invisible to most people. As Mr. Manjunath Prasad also mentioned from BBMP, that they are nameless, faceless people working in the background. Next slide, please. And yet, we found that people in Bengaluru are generally thankful towards the formal waste pickers, that is the BBMP contracted waste collectors, as majority of the people felt that house-to-house waste collectors are indispensable and critical for survival in the city. While a few thought that they are just doing their job and getting paid for it, the key attitude towards formal waste pickers that came out strongly was that of sympathy and gratitude among all public. When we asked about the informal waste pickers, however, we discovered little to no awareness of their role or the work that they do. When we probed further, we found that when informal waste pickers were visible to the people of Bengaluru, there was very strong stigma against them, which I would like to detail out in my next slide. As you can see, as many as 55% of the research participants described the informal waste pickers as dirty. There was a strong sense of fear and repulsion, with 56% people saying that informal waste pickers should not be allowed in buildings and societies. People believe that informal waste pickers are irresponsible with their personal hygiene and could be possible spreaders of disease, including COVID-19. During the focus group discussions, there were responses like, they look scary, so we don't go near them. Many also felt that the male waste pickers in fact work in order to get some money for their drinking or gambling habits. As many as 44% of the social media users believe that informal waste pickers are involved in theft and suspicious activities. These negative perceptions and stigma keep the members of the general population away from any personal interaction with the informal waste pickers. Next slide, please, Bharat. When we spoke with the waste pickers themselves, in addition to the financial challenges like low and irregular income and sometimes only surviving on aid from the NGOs and the government, they also talked to us about this inherent social discrimination by public, which they have to deal with. They mentioned that this has been further accentuated because of COVID-19, as people fear contracting the disease from them. We also spoke to the families and children of the informal waste pickers, who told us that while they appreciate the hard work put in by their parents or spouses, they feel bad when people point out or make fun of the fact that the parents or family members deal with waste. The children feel ashamed due to the social judgment from peers and public caused by the nature of their parents' work. All this creates a need within the waste pickers too to be invisible, adding further to the invisible, to the existing cloak of invisibility. Next slide, please. Further, from our interviews with the key informants and the waste pickers, it was clear that there exist hierarchies in the waste management system, which make some of the waste pickers more vulnerable to social discrimination. The BBMP contracted waste pickers are a part of the formal waste management system, and as we saw earlier, people have a very positive perception in general about them. Within the informal waste picker segment, the dry waste collection center sorters are slightly more formalized than the itinerant buyers and the street waste collectors. This hierarchy adds to the invisibility of certain segments within the informal waste management, with the street waste collectors, who you see at the bottom of the pyramid, being the most vulnerable. As we go down the hierarchy, there is lower income, lower value of waste that the waste pickers sell, and no formal identity of the waste pickers. Next slide, please. Lastly, as Vignesh also referred to this aspect in his presentation, there is an additional factor that contributes enormously to the vulnerability, and that is gender. In addition to all the challenges that we spoke about earlier, women face additional challenges around personal safety and harassment. They face abuse by men in the neighborhood as well as violence at home. Female straight waste pickers often wear dirty clothes to work in order to avoid attention and harassment from general public. In addition, most female workers find the work physically exhausting as it requires them to walk with heavy sacks for long distances, while also being responsible for cooking, cleaning, and caring for their own families. These were some of the key insights from the formative research undertaken by BBC Media Action. Thank you all. Over to you, Bharat.
Thank you, Priyanka and Varinder, for sharing your insights. We will now head into panel discussion. The topic on which the panel will deliberate on is From Informal to Formal, Integrating Waste Pickers in Bangalore's Urban Landscape. The panel will be moderated by Pinky Chandran, founder of Radioactive, Bangalore's first community radio, and member of Solid Waste Management Roundtable. Pinky Chandran has over 2 decades of experience across community media, waste management, and livelihood development. She co-founded Radioactive 90.4, Bangalore's first community radio station in 2007. She is an active campaigner for decentralized community-based waste management and is founder member of Solid Waste Management Roundtable, Bangalore. She is also the trustee, one of the trustees of Hospitala. Thank you for joining us, Pinky. Over to you to introduce the panelists and take the discussion ahead.
Thank you, Bharat. So Bangalore citizens have been at the forefront championing segregation of waste at source, decentralized waste management services, and waste picker integration. However, it was not till 2011 that organizing waste pickers gained momentum in the city. And I must add that being part of the founding team of the Solid Waste Management Roundtable since 2009 It was only in 2010 when I met Nalini Shekhar that I realized that we have inherently invisibilized waste pickers and other informal waste collectors. I remember very distinctly that yes, I remember very distinctly that at this meeting at SWMRT on a Tuesday, Nalini was a special guest. She was invited by Mr. Anthony Rosario, who has been working with waste pickers from the early 80s. And at that point in time, when we were discussing dry waste collection centers, she initially, when she came in, she was all warm, receptive, smiling. And then as the meeting progressed, you could see her cross her arms, shake her head, and then she walked out after the meeting concluded to take a call. And at that point in time, I was a bit amused, and I was wondering what's with her. Why is she being so negative suddenly? So I stepped out, and then her dialogue, which actually changed the way we look at things. She said, "How can you guys even talk about waste management without including waste pickers?" That was when we realized that when you talk about SWM as such, people and who work in waste are some things that we completely invisibilize, or we take them for granted. 2011 to 2020, we've come a long way. With the solid waste management rules, 2016 recognizing waste pickers for the first time since the rules came in 2000. The Sarvekshan in 2016 ranking cities also have included a rating which says ULBs on the percentage of informal waste workers formally integrated into sustainable livelihoods. So through this panel discussion, we hope to look at the scope to explore synergies and opportunities, and we also wanted to have a clear understanding of firstly, the role of waste pickers play from the government lens. Second, ways to integrate them into the formal waste picker ecosystem. And third, how can civil society, philanthropy, industries, corporate support and overcome challenges of integration? And I'm happy to introduce my panelists for today. Mr. Randeep Dev, IS Officer, Special Commissioner SWM AH from the BBMP. Welcome, sir. Ms. Nalini Shekhar, who needs no introduction, the co-founder and executive director of Hasrudala. And Ms. Bharti Devan, cluster head, urban for Azim Premji Philanthropic Initiatives. Welcome all. So this panel discussion is divided into two sections. The first one, we will just set the tone of waste picker integration, and the second one will delve deeper into the whole concept of integration and inclusion per se. So first question, Nalini, I would like you to set the context for the panel. So the first question goes to you. There has been tremendous efforts from organizations in Pune, Mumbai, Delhi, and of course Bangalore in mobilizing waste pickers, from right to identity and recognition, right to waste, right to organizing, right to sorting spaces, right to representation, right to social security, right to training, and so on and so forth. Given that you're also a member of the Alliance of Indian Waste Pickers, can you explain the contribution of the informal waste workers in the country in general and specifically in Bengaluru?
Thank you, Vicky.
Nalini, we are unable to hear you.
Is carbon negative footprints. It leaves a carbon negative footprints. So they pick what you and me throw as waste through their work and giving labor for sorting, grading, baling, and transporting. They actually make this waste into a tradable commodity. And how many of us can claim that? So, it is also shown, many studies around the country has shown that their work actually reduces the cost of solid waste management just in collection and transportation. So in 2011, when we first started collecting the data through the BBMP, identification process of waste pickers identification process, we actually saw that they were saving 84 crore rupees in just collection and transportation. When the city government has a gap in service in solid waste management, waste pickers have always pitched in and collected the waste. The skill and knowledge across different waste stream will be an asset when you do a solid waste, integrate them into solid waste management system. So in 2016, our sister organization with the same discussion went to the we were there in 2016 drafting of the rules, and we talked about it. We showed the economic contribution they have made, and that's how nationally in 2016 they were recognized. However, BBMP had recognized them in 2011 itself for the work that we have done and organized people in the country. So I'll stop there and wait for your next question.
Thank you, Nalini. I think I'll move over to Mr. Randeep. Like what Nalini said, I think the BBMP made history in 2011 when it issued 200 identity cards for waste pickers. I still remember the newspaper when it read, in a move to recognize the indirect contribution of waste pickers in keeping the city clean, the BBMP issues ID cards. And what kind of ID cards? When the then commissioner at the function that was hosted to distribute ID cards was giving out the ID cards, I remember this waste picker Lakshmi was so amused to find that the ID card matched the one that the commissioner was carrying. So that's an excellent achievement. And more recently, with the passing of the BBMP SWM bylaws 2020, the BBMP has clearly established its commitment to the cause. So, sir, can you please explain the process of waste picker integration in BBMP and the ecosystem support offered to waste pickers?
Thank you. Vicky, can you hear me? I hope I'm audible to all.
Yes.
Yeah, thanks for having me here. I think we have interacted earlier also on this subject. I'm a fairly late entrant to this whole process. I'm sure all of you in this panel, and Nalini included, know much more about this subject and how Bangalore has been in the forefront of recognizing, I would say, first the role of the waste pickers and thereafter going ahead and integrating them. The process, as you said, started much before I joined BBMP. And on a personal note, I would say that we have recognized the community, which is probably the invisibles. Outside the government system, probably even before I joined BBMP, we used to consider this group as the invisibles because their work starts sometime late in the evening. I used to see them rummaging through the garbage bins, but never really knew what they were doing and what their contribution was. Once, of course, we got into the shoes of the Special Commissioner Solid Waste Management, one did realize that the contribution is far more. As you rightly said, filling in the gaps which are existing in the waste management system. And also the formal recognition, not only in terms of giving the ID cards, but creating a legal mandate through the SWM rules, which recognized it in the year 2016. And thereafter in 2020, albeit 4 years late, BBMP recognizing the clear role of the waste picker and ensuring that their role is institutionalized in the overall waste collection system. I think for the first time, ever since we have talked about the three-way segregation of waste, we have clearly highlighted that the dry waste picker shall be a separate entity with a separate vehicle, with a separate infrastructure, which is the dry waste collection center, with both backward and forward linkages in terms of tapping into dry waste market, and thereby reduce not only the costs, but also improve the efficiency of collection of dry waste. So I would say that this is a landmark achievement. I would not say that we have ensured that the system works 100% to efficiency, but I would say the intent of the BBMP is right, with the support of organizations like SWMRT and Hasiru Dala. And today we have multiple players in the market. when we just floated a RFP for or an expression of interest, the resource organization would like to join hands for institutionalizing the system of dry waste collection. We did that. It was not just Hasirud, but other organizations also came. And I can say now that with the next 3 to 4 months, we would have a very robust dry waste system, which would be entirely run or to a large extent run by the waste pickers, some extent by the women self-help groups too. So that is a large social message as well as an SWM goal that we will be achieving together.
Thank you, Mr. Randeep. I think, like you rightly pointed out, and like what we have been reiterating, I think BBMP has always been the forerunner in this particular aspect in terms of integrating. I remember for one of our studies that we did into looking at waste picker perception of Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, and we had to review and visited 20 cities and reviewed the bylaws of different cities and states, and we found that the BBMP bylaw is way ahead. I mean, not because I'm biased and I'm saying that, but it is definitely way ahead. And it the points that you just mentioned rightly summarizes the letter and spirit of also the convergence document of SBM and the DNULM, that is by the National Urban Livelihood Mission, which actually articulates all these points and also giving focus on micro-entrepreneurship. Thank you very much, sir. Our next question is to Bharti. Bharti, welcome. The Azim Premji Philanthropic Initiative considers waste pickers as a vulnerable group and have supported organizations that work with waste pickers. How did you decide that waste pickers are a priority group to work with in your area of work in the urban landscape?
First of all, thank you for having me here. I hope I'm audible, Pinky?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So good afternoon, everyone. I'm Bharti Diwan. I work with Azim Premji Philanthropy. It's part of a group of institutions founded by Mr. Premji in the social space. Our mandate is to provide grants to the organization that are working on the ground, and we support good people doing great work, largely guided by the problems, and we try to do what it takes to bring the change in the lives of the people. As Pinky said, I'm part of Urban Poor Cluster, and our focus areas are issues of homelessness, migrant and informal sector workers, manual scavengers, waste pickers, and informal settlements. Having said that, waste pickers is one of the newest themes that we have, got added somewhere around 2018-19. We've made a couple of initial grants, and Hasirud being one of, I think, the first or the second partner that we engaged with. Coming to the question that you had, Pinky, about how did we decide that this is a priority group that we should start working with. So for philanthropy, the decision or the deciding factor to add new themes or intervention areas is largely vulnerability. And here in waste pickers, we clearly see that the vulnerability is not because of the kind of work that they do or the kind of poverty they live in. It's much more than that. Waste pickers ranks lowest in the hierarchy of urban informal occupations, and a large number of people who are engaged in this are women and children. And I hear that is also coming out from BBC's formative research. Someone who has never been to the school, someone who doesn't carry any skills, probably migrant in a city like Bengaluru. There's a clear connection with caste as well in the occupation that they're engaged with, and predominantly the people who are waste pickers. Why they are picking waste? Because they are not able to find any other kind of employment for themselves. Growing population, an increase in the waste that's being generated in the Indian cities. Waste pickers not only collect, sort, and segregate, and make the living out of it, but they also clean up a significant proportion of the waste generated. And in some sense, many of the organizations, and Hasirud for that matter, are seeing them as eco-workers. With COVID-19, definitely all of us as, even the layman would understand the contribution that they are making to the society. So while we were scoping and building our understanding about the issue, we understood that these people live on the fringes of the society, and the informality of the work that they are engaged with is not captured by any of the welfare schemes or the social security benefits. The lack of identity is further pushing them and isolating them socially. There are occupational health risks. The children are engaged and they're following the footsteps of their parents. So we saw three potential areas that we could take up initially to start with our work on waste pickers. How do we promote economic security for them? We need to collectivize them. We need to, ensure that they receive fair price for the recyclable waste that they collect. I still clearly remember the pointers that Nalini was making when I went to their organization and conducting the due diligence. How do we make sure that the hair that they collect can generate or enhance their income? How do we make sure that certain communities of the waste pickers who are engaged in collecting bones, how do we bring them to a much formal space and enhance their income? How do we make sure that they make a better living out of what they are doing today? That's point one. Point two, how do we facilitate them access rights and entitlements? They are our eco warriors, but we need to do our bit to make sure that they come in much more formal space so that they are able to live a better and a dignified life. The third piece that we got interested in was to work with their children, promoting education and life skills, running after school centers, taking care of their health and nutrition needs, building the skills of the young adults. So these were certain pieces that we've started with. And as I said, we are still in a very nascent stage of finding out various intervention models and seeing through what is that, a sustainable and holistic intervention designed for a waste picker community. But we are learning, and I'm happy that I'm here, and I'll definitely have some takeaways. So I'll stop here.
Thank you so much, Bharti. I think you rightly pointed out, and there is a World Bank study also which says that 1 to 2% of the urban population make their living out of waste picking, especially in developing countries. And with this, I think we move to our second section, which is about integration. So waste, as we all know, is definitely complicated, and the term integration is a contested word. Inclusion and integration are often used interchangeably, further marginalizing the waste pickers. And as cities move towards streamlining waste systems, waste pickers are faced with a new order that needs adapting and scaling up to the new structure and systems with minimum disruption and sensitivity. How can this be made possible? So Nalini, the question to you. How do we build an appreciation of the informal waste sector per se, not just waste pickers, and the social fabric that they operate under? What are the social security measures that are available at present?
So before saying that, I just wanted to say just the social protection or just the livelihood is not enough. And actually, Hasudala believes that predictable income and access to social security will bring a quantum of change in the waste pickers and their families' lives, and especially in the absence of living wages. In the last 3 years, we have seen major challenges. When petroleum price was reduced and the virgin plastic was introduced, we saw women and children malnourished, women weighing like 24, 25 kilos, and even less in some cases. Then again, when demonetization happened, and yet another time when GST was introduced from 5% to 18%, and of course, recently the COVID time. So when we look at all these issues, we have to really understand that whether it is an economic downturn or a health pandemic or international movement towards the crude oil pricing, everything affects waste picker right next door. So it is very important. That's why predictable. Why we are really working with DWCC is only one part, maybe 1/4 of our work. That's more work that we do along the side of access to social security. So what we have seen during the pandemic, that Wherever we have tried to get waste pickers to work as micro entrepreneurs with in dry waste collection center, and who has a social security benefit, they fared better than anybody who didn't have anything and who lived on the street. So housing and ration card, or the access to PDS system, really has shown a remarkable difference in at least kind of fighting the poverty in these kind of situations. When we started our work in 2011, there were a lot of children in waste picking. There were a lot of people with absolutely no ID. And there are some pockets even till today, even like last year, we found some people who had absolutely no ID, and we started working on it. FSG study that H&M had requested them to do very clearly showed that after Hasrudala has started, the child labor situation has reduced in this sector in Bangalore. So that's a huge thing, that the next generation of children have an option, and we work a lot with children. So for me, it's not about accessing social security, but looking at the whole systematic change that needs to be done. One is organizing waste pickers is very important. One, you have the adult waste pickers with you, and take them along and make sure that next generation will not get into get into waste picking, or if they want to do it at a higher level. We really believe with predictable income and access to social security, we continuously work with both state government and central government to get more and more access to social security. With this predictable income, social security, and alternate vocational option for children of waste pickers, opportunity for children of waste pickers. Today we heard one of the waste pickers saying that she wants to be an IAS officer. We have some girls who have finished their engineering, but most of our children are still, because it's only 10 years since we have started working, and most of our children are still in schools and colleges. So we believe in the next 10 years that we will not see waste pickers in Bangalore the way they are working today. They really work well. I think we are at the right track, and I'm also hoping in 10 years, if Samohika Shakti really takes off well and do well, we can accelerate that process. So for me, social security by itself is not enough. Livelihood itself is not enough. It is both. And one of the major challenges we have, as Mr. Manjunath Prasad, our commissioner, was also talking about, that there are schemes for housing. Housing schemes that really take 7 to 8 years to get. So if you have at least a housing properly, that is the most secure place you can start from.
So thank you, Nalini. I think, like you rightly said, and like what we are actually seeing from 2011 to 2020, we've definitely come a long way. And years to more power to, building that whole appreciation of the informal waste sector. Mr. Randeep, I have to quote from this, from the Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development, OECD 2015, which stated that the best functioning systems are those which embrace an open strategy that includes both informal recycling and the existing value chain enterprises in the system. So the BBMP, as we are all aware, has demonstrated a pathway to waste pickers. What next? How do you go beyond the conventional approaches of registering waste pickers and dry waste collection centers and building an inclusive system for the entire informal recycling value chain?
Yes, Pinky, as I said, we are looking to achieve the twin goal of good solid waste management, as well as to ensure that the waste pickers do find this a very profitable kind of an initiative. And we are able to ensure that their incomes are protected. So keeping that in mind, I would say that you're right that our role does not end with just giving ID cards and issuing a few work orders. Unless we handhold them, and BBMP has been doing that in a few ways. We have built these dry waste collection centers and handed them over to the dry waste operators, namely the waste pickers. And then we also have a policy of handing over the dry waste collection vehicle also. Very recently, a few dry waste vehicles which GAIL had given through CSR were handed over to 18 wards where dry waste collectors are active. And very soon, we would also be procuring dry waste vehicles and handing them over to the dry waste centers. Now, the whole objective being that here, BBMP handholds the larger infrastructure that is required for dry waste collection, namely the dry waste collection center and the vehicles. And in case some consumables are required as a one-time thing, we would be able to provide that. We also have a tie-up with the government of Netherlands. There's an organization called the Sweep Smart, whom we are using to actually mechanize the dry waste centers. So the first round, we had taken up about 10 dry waste centers where conveyor belts would be put up, mezzanine floors would be constructed for larger storage space, and so on and so forth. This is planned to be extended to many more of the dry waste centers so that we create a very conducive environment and provide that infrastructure for the waste pickers to ensure that they are having a livelihood and they could have enough resources and tap into the market and ensure that they are able to sustain themselves. Not only sustain themselves, we want them to thrive. And that being the goal, I think it is a model for the entire country also to follow. We have just taken very baby steps now. The list is fairly long. We need to look out for their welfare. We need to integrate them at various other levels, probably create those backward forward linkages so that the market is responsive to their products. So I think we have just started off now, and we would require the civil society organizations like SWMRT, Hasrudal also to hold hands with us and tell us what would be the way ahead and how best we can deliver to their needs. So I would keep that chapter open. There's hardly anything that I can say immediately to say that we have done much more than whatever I have quoted right now. But definitely there is a long road ahead that we need to walk. But all I can say is that we are firm in this initiative, and people have also started acknowledging the fact that because the results are also visible. I mean, we are able to see where the wet waste collection is done by BBMP and the dry waste collection is done by the waste pickers. Segregation levels have picked up. People have become more conscious about the way they dispose their waste. And we are also in a position to kind of ensure that there is a lot of awareness in such wards. So I would say that it is a win-win proposition for all of us. It's just that it needs to be coordinated in the right manner and with the right people and the right intent. I'm sure there is only one way to go forward, and that is ahead. Thank you.
Oh, it's very well said. And I think it goes to say where there is a will, there is a way. And you've also pointed out about the need for backward and forward linkages. So with that, my next question to Bharti. Bharti, when we were discussing yesterday on the phone, we also mentioned that integration needs to be viewed from an intersectional lens, and integration is also multidimensional. Like what Nalini said, not just predictable income and social security, but also to add social acceptance, protection, dignity, etc. So in this context, why and how can other foundations support waste pickers and other informal waste workers or organizations working with waste pickers? Bharti?
Hello. Did we lose Pinky, or I have lost the connection?
Do you want me to repeat the question, Bharti?
Yeah, I think my connection was weak for a second. Yeah.
So what I was mentioning was that yesterday when we spoke, when we were discussing about the term integration, we realized that integration needs to be viewed from an intersectional lens, and integration, the term integration is also multidimensional, and like what Nalini mentioned, predictable incomes and access to social security go hand in hand. But along with it is also social acceptance, protection, dignity, etc. So in this particular context, why and how can other foundations or philanthropic organizations support waste pickers and other informal waste workers, or organizations working with waste pickers and and informal waste workers?
Can't agree more with you, Pinky, on the 2 pointers that you said about intersectionality and multidimensional. Because none of us work in silos, right? There are external factors from every level that influence each of us. And we are talking about a community who's largely, highly vulnerable in that sense. I would say 2 points here. The data suggests that India generates more than 62 million tons of waste annually, which either goes to the waste collectors or in the bins. And from the bins, it eventually lands up to the landfills. Largely because we are not segregating at source and we are trying to learn. I heard Randeep sir talk about that, and looking forward to see the initiatives from BBMP, extremely elated. These piles resemble to mountains, and eventually they start releasing poisonous gases, and that leaches into the air that we all breathe in. So extremely important piece of work that all of us should start thinking about. Coming from a waste picker as a person and as a family, they deal with garbage, but it's our responsibility to see through that. How do we help them live a life of dignity? So we need to design interventions in such a way that help them chart the journey from informality to formality, the point that I was making yesterday, Pinky, and when I say formality, I would say, where they have assured income, where they have access to social security, where the children are going to school, where the place where they live in is clean, they have drinking water, they have electricity connection. I know this is not an easy stuff, and lot of efforts and lot of time would need to make this happen. But whatever steps each of us as philanthropy, as civil society organization, as duty bearers, each of us can do, will definitely bring change in the lives of these people. From what we've experienced till now, largely there is civil society presence out there, and it's doable. Organizations operating in this theme, working with the community, are largely registered. There are a number of interventions that are there, centered around livelihoods, the labor rights, the social securities, working with their children. We all need to step in. It's almost like 165 million ton waste that is going to be generated till 2030. The problem is really acute in cities, and we are not talking about a small number of people. It's almost like 3 to 4 million waste pickers that are there in the country, and their lives are getting affected day in, day out. How do we make that happen? Yes, we probably need to talk more about it. We really need to create that sensitization amongst the funding organizations, the corporates, the philanthropies. We will do our bit. We are trying to make sure that the agencies that we engage with we do advocate about the issue. We do advocate about the great organizations we've been associated with. I'm quite hopeful that the situation will change. But as you said, it will take its own time. It will go as per its own pace. And with the current COVID, the funding priorities have also changed. Though let's be hopeful about it and ensure that next year or so the funding becomes much more flexible towards the civil society organizations, and we really see these organizations getting benefited from that.
Thank you very much, Bharti. I'm actually reminded, listening to Nalini and Hugh speaking, I'm actually reminded of this document that I read from this project that GIZ had conducted in 2015 in Tunisia, which said the long-term goal of integration should lead to options for the next generation of waste pickers, either to remain in the formal modernized recycling systems in city or have exit options to pursue a profession of their choices, sustained by a stronger family and state-based social safety net. So with this, because we're running short of time, very quickly, I would like the three of you to say if you have any last words to say to our audience, anything very, very quickly and briefly. Nalini, first you. Okay, if Nalini is not there, then Bharti or Mr. Randeep, who would like to go first?
I just want to ask the audience I'm speaking.
Can't hear you very clearly, Nalini. Okay, I think Mr. Randeep or Bharti, would you like to quickly give out your last words before we conclude the panel discussion?
Yeah. Yes, a bit of funds is required for this, and somehow in BBMP we've been able to prioritize that. Very recently, the government also sanctioned a large financial package for SWM, a large part of which we are actually earmarking it for creating infrastructure for the dry waste collection stream. Be it our aggregator centers, dry waste collection centers, procurement of vehicles for the dry waste collection, certain welfare activities for the waste pickers. I think the priority is very clear there, and we need to move towards this. There is no taking back steps in this regard. I think we can be hopeful that a lot more firsts will be there when it comes to Bangalore and waste pickers. And I am a lot more hopeful that things would be streamlined in the near future. And this could be a replicable model which can go to the other cities in Karnataka as well as in the country. And I think awareness programs and webinars like this only add to sharing of such best practices. And if we do have a model which is worked better somewhere, BBMP is always open to suggestions and incorporation. At the end of the day, we want this integration to succeed. We want this plan of ours, which we have put it into action, to come out victorious in the end.
Thank you, sir. Nalini?
Thank you.
Yes, thank you very
Yeah.
much.
I just wanted to share and invite the citizens to support us, because it will take some time for waste pickers to move from informality to become service providers. So a month or two should be something that people have to be patient to start our dry waste collection center, running, and we really need the support of citizens, and we look forward to it.
Thank you, Nalini. Bharti?
I want to be really very short and crisp for this. I would say they are underpaid, they are undervalued. Let's come together and make their lives better and enable them to lead a much more dignified life. And that would be my last word. But I do want to repeat what Randeep sir said, the only way is the way ahead.
Thank you very much to the three speakers. I also have to just quickly say, I think it's time for us to reimagine the informal waste economy, acknowledge not just the waste pickers, but the entire informal recycling value chain through different aspects, whether it's spatial, political, social, cultural, or economic. And we also have to rethink our understanding of the term informal and informality. And here's to working together. Thank you very much for joining us. Over to you, Bharat.
Thank you so much, Mr. Randeep, Nalini, Bharti, for sharing your insights with us. And thank you, Pinky, for moderating that very interesting discussion. It's clear that while Bangalore is certainly at the forefront, not just in terms of SWM, but also in terms of incorporating the interest of waste pickers into their plans, there is much work to be done. We look forward to connecting with BBMP, other organizations, be it funders, civil society organizations, to take the conversation forward in a very collaborative manner. I think I can take the liberty of speaking on behalf of all of the partners of Samuhika Shakti when I say that we are very excited about the work ahead of us, especially in these unprecedented times, which has increased the burden on already marginalized communities. I hope all of you in the audience found this session interesting and informative. I would like to wrap up by making a quick appeal for each of us to be responsible in how we dispose our waste, and to particularly be mindful of the people whose job it is to handle what leaves our homes. Thank you so much to all the speakers for sharing your thoughts with us, and to our audience for being patient. I know we are 20 minutes over schedule, but thank you so much for taking the time to attend the webinar. I do want to leave an option here for you to stay back a few minutes after my vote of thanks to watch a couple more of the experiences of waste speakers that we wanted to share, but we could not because of the paucity of time. So we'll play those after we close out, and you're welcome to stay back and watch it if you want. We didn't have the opportunity to respond to some comments. We will respond to you later after the webinar. We look forward to staying in touch and continuing the dialogue. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Bharat, if you would like to just play the videos, if people would like to watch. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, Lakshmi. Thank you, everyone. We will now watch a video on role of waste pickers in the solid waste management and some of the challenges faced by them and how technology and innovation can possibly make their work effective.
என் பேர் வீரம்மா. நாங்கள் 10-15 வருஷமா இந்த வேலை செஞ்சுக்கிறோம். எங்களுக்கு கை கால் நல்லா நோவு இருக்குது. நாங்கள் ஒரு 4 நாளைக்கு வேலை செஞ்சாக்கா ஒரு நாள் லீவ் எடுக்கணும். அந்த லீவ் எடுக்கிறது அப்போ மால் நிறைய சேர்ந்துருக்கு. எங்களுக்கு இப்போ ஒர்க் பண்ணுங்க. இது எங்களுக்கு இந்த ஐட்டமை பிரிக்கிறதுக்கு எங்களுக்கு செய்து தருவா.
नमस्कार, मेरा नाम है सूरज। हमें ये बेल बनाता ऐसा दबा दबा के पूरा हर दिन ऐसा दबा दबा के बेल बनाता 8-10 बंडल हो जाता। मगर क्या नाइट में पूरा पाँव हाथ पूरा दर्द हो जाता, सोने के नहीं होता। हमारा ये बंडल बेल बन के फैक्ट्री में बेचता और क्या भी मशीन है तो बहुत हमारा आसान होता काम और ज़्यादा भी हमारा बेच सकता।
ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ, ನನ್ನ ಹೆಸರು ಕೃಷ್ಣ. ನಾನು 20 ವರ್ಷದಿಂದ ಈ ವೇಸ್ಟ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ. 2012ರಿಂದ ಡಬ್ಲ್ಯೂ ಡ್ರೈವರ್ಸ್ ಕಲೆಕ್ಷನ್ ಸೆಂಟರ್ 15 ಜನ ಸೇರ್ಕೊಂಡು ಅದನ್ನ ರನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀವಿ. ನಾವು ಮನೆ ಹೋಗಿ ಡ್ರೈವರ್ಸ್ನ ಕಲೆಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಎತ್ಕೊಂಡು ಕೆಳಗಡೆ ಹಾಕಿ ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ನಮಗೆ ಕಷ್ಟ. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಇದಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಕಷ್ಟ ಇರೋದು ಅದನ್ನ ಬೇರೆ ಮಾಡೋದು. ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಂದು ಕ್ಯಾಟಗರಿನ ಬೇರೆ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. ನೀವು ನೋಡಿದ್ರೆ ಈ ಸೆಗ್ರಿಗೇಷನ್ ಮಾಡೋರು ಎಲ್ಲ 50 kg ಮೇಲೆ ಆಗಿರೋರು. ಅವ್ರು ಎಷ್ಟಂತ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, ಇನ್ನ ಎಷ್ಟು ದಿವಸಕ್ಕೆ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಆದ್ರೆ ವೇಸ್ಟ್ ಅಂತೂ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಇನ್ನ ಹೆಚ್ಚಿಗೆ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಇನ್ನ ದಿವಸಗಳು ಬರುವ ಅದರಿಂದ ನಮ್ಗೇನೋ ಒಂದು ಪ್ಲಾನ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಡ್ರೈವರ್ಸ್ ಸೆಂಟರ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ರೊಮ್ಯಾಟಿಕ್ ಆರ್ಮ್ ಹಾಕಿ ಈ ವೇಸ್ಟ್ ಅನ್ನ ಸೆಗ್ರಿಗೇಷನ್ ಮಾಡಕ್ಕೆ ಒಂದು ಪ್ಲಾನ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. ಆತರ ಆದ್ರೆ ಎಷ್ಟೋ ವೇಸ್ಟ್ ಬಂದ್ರೆ ಕೂಡ ಎಲ್ಲಾ ವೇಸ್ಟ್ ಸೆಗ್ರಿಗೇಷನ್ ಮಾಡಬಹುದು, ಮತ್ತೆ ಎಲ್ಲಾ ಮೆಟೀರಿಯಲ್ ನಾವು ರೀಸೈಕ್ಲಿಂಗ್ ಕಳಿಸಬಹುದು. ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಜನರೇಷನ್ಗೆ ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಕೈ ಹಾಕಿ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡಕ್ಕೆ ಯಾರು ಬರ್ತಾರಂತ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ. ಇವಾಗ ಯಾರಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಅವ್ರು ಮಾತ್ರನೇ ಮಾಡೋದು ಇದನ್ನ. ಅದ್ರ ಖಂಡಿತವಾಗ್ಲೂ ಟೆಕ್ನಾಲಜಿ ಬೇಕೇ ಬೇಕು.
That is a lot of hard work in tough working conditions put in by the waste pickers. It shows the scope of innovation and technology in making their work effective, and also the scope of various stakeholders to contribute towards this. Moving ahead, we now present you a video on the role of waste pickers waste pickers play in the circular economy by segregating multiple streams of waste to be recycled, which otherwise would have ended up in the landfills. While we simply categorize waste as dry waste, wet waste, medical waste while disposal, there is a lot of work that takes place after this to ensure that the waste reaches the correct endpoint. Let's watch this video.
ನನ್ನ ಹೆಸರು ಸಂಪಂಗಿ. ನಾನು 32 ವರ್ಷದಿಂದ ವೇಸ್ಟ್ ಪಿಕ್ಕರ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ. ಈಗ 4 ವರ್ಷದಿಂದ ಒಣ ಕಸ ಉದಾಹರಣೆ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ. 181ನಲ್ಲಿ ನ್ಯೂಸ್ ಪೇಪರು ಇದು ಕಾಟನ್ ಬಾಕ್ಸ್, ಇದು ಬಿಪಿ ತಗಡು ಪ್ಲಾಸ್ಟಿಕ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇದು ಒಂದು ಐಟಮ್, ಇದೊಂದು ಐಟಮ್. ಕಡಕಲ್ಲಿ ಬ್ಲಾಕು ತಿನ್ನು ರೆಸಿಡ ಬಂದ್ರೆ ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗತ್ತೆ. ತಿನ್ನು ಇದು ಸ್ಕ್ಯಾನಿಂಗ್
ಅಲ್ಯೂಮಿನಿಯಂ,
ಇದೊಂದು ಐಟಮ್, ಇದು ಅಲ್ಯೂಮಿನಿಯಂ, ಇದು ಒಂದು ಕ್ಯಾಟಗರಿ ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ರಿಕ್. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಪೇಸ್ಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇದೊಂದು ಕ್ವಾಲಿಟಿ, ಇದು ಒಂದು ಕ್ವಾಲಿಟಿ. ಇದ್ರಲ್ಲಿ ಒಳಗಡೆ ಪೇಪರ್ ಬರುತ್ತೆ, ಇದ್ರ ಪೇಪರ್ ಬರಲ್ಲ. ಇದು ಪ್ಲಾಸ್ಟಿಕ್ ಒಳಗಡೆ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ, ಇದು ಕಡಕಲ್ಲಿ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಇದು ಸಿಡಿ, ಇದು ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಸ್ಟೀಲ್ ಅಲ್ಲೇ 3 ಕ್ವಾಲಿಟಿ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಇದೊಂದು ಕ್ವಾಲಿಟಿ, ಇದೊಂದು ಕ್ವಾಲಿಟಿ, ಇದೊಂದು ಕ್ವಾಲಿಟಿ. ಇದು ಮೆತ್ತಗೆ ಬರುತ್ತೆ, ಇದು ಬೇರೆ ಬರುತ್ತೆ, ಇದೊಂದು ತೆಳುಗೆ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. 3 ಕ್ಯಾಟಗರಿ. ಇದೊಂದು ಇದು ಸಿಲ್ವರ್, ಇದು ಬೇರೆ, ಇದು ಬೇರೆ, ಇದು ಬೇರೆ ಕ್ವಾಲಿಟಿ, ಅದು ಬೇರೆ ಕ್ವಾಲಿಟಿ. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಇದು ಬೀಡ್ ಅಲ್ಯೂಮಿನಿಯಂ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಹಾಗೆ ಎತ್ಕೊಂಡು ಬರೋಲ್ಲ, ಇಷ್ಟು ಐಟಮ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಇದು ಬ್ಲಾಕ್ ಪೈಪ್, ಇದು ಒಂದು ಪ್ಲಾಸ್ಟಿಕ್, ಕಬ್ಣ, ಪೈಪಲ್ಲೇ ಇದೊಂದು ಪೈಪು, ಇದು ಬ್ಲಾಕ್ ಪೈಪ್, ಇದು ಬೇರೆ ರೇಟು, ಅದು ಬೇರೆ ರೇಟ್.
Thank you, Bharat, for sharing those videos. I think a lot of people think of waste pickers and sorters as unskilled workers. I think but it is evident from Sampanki's demonstration that they possess quite a lot of knowledge on materials, and there is much that we have to learn from them. I think it is also clear that they are a critical link in the circular economy value chain. So we wanted to leave what we thought were very inspiring videos and wanted you to see these and learn from it. Hope you enjoyed watching these videos and they were informative. Thank you so much for staying back and really appreciate your time. Thank you, everyone. Have a great week.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day. Bye.
Thank you. Please be safe.
Bye.
Thank you.